So Conor McGregor is fighting this weekend on Khabib Nurmagomedov Saturday Night Contender Series, and I thought what better time to make a top 5 threats to Conor McGregor, who has the highest chance of beating him. We're going to stick to the lightweight division right now because there are a bunch of names and a bunch of tough matchups for him, including one this weekend against Dustin Poirier himself. And just before we start this video, I just want to say I'm not overlooking Dustin Poirier. I'm just going to put this out there so the MMA gods hopefully listen to me right now. Don't jinx me here. I'm not overlooking Dustin Poirier, but there could be a potential plethora of Conor McGregor matchups in the lightweight division. I'm going to go through the top 5 threats to him right now in this video. Starting at number 5 on my list, Justin, the highlight Gaethje sits at number 5. I like Justin Gaethje. I just totally believe he would be absolutely obliterated in the first round by Conor McGregor. You know what I'm going to say as well? I think the old style of Justin Gaethje, the guy who came forward, put his forehead into all of your shots, knew he was going to get hit and just took every single one of them on the forehead and threw back and chopped at the legs and smothered you against a cage, would be a much better matchup against Conor McGregor than the Justin Gaethje we've seen recently, which is a guy who scoots around the outside, tries to be a little bit more technical. I don't think you can out-technique McGregor on the feet whatsoever, and I think this new style of Justin Gaethje would completely fall apart in front of McGregor and get completely destroyed in the first round. I think the old style of Gaethje would also have some benefits against Conor McGregor, but I still believe he would get destroyed there as well. I like Justin Gaethje. I think he's a good fighter, but I think he would lose to Conor McGregor. He shells up too much. He seems too okay to take shots. His head movement is not phenomenal. He got hit by a lot of shots off of Tony Ferguson. Even though he beat Tony Ferguson very convincingly, he took a lot of shots in that fight. Check the stats. I think if you're taking shots against Tony Ferguson on the feet, you're going to be taking shots against Conor McGregor in that first round. And if you're taking shots against Conor McGregor in the first round on the feet, unless you're Nate Diaz, you're probably going to get KO'd. And not to mention Justin Gaethje's been KO'd a couple of times now by Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, 2 previous victims of Conor McGregor's KO power. I think McGregor would completely obliterate Justin Gaethje. However, the old Gaethje has a better chance than the new Gaethje we're seeing now. The leg kicks would be nice. I think leg kicks are very underutilized against Conor McGregor. I think the best style possible to beat Conor McGregor out there would be Edson Barboza with a chin. Anyone who's going to beat McGregor on the feet, it's got to be Edson Barboza with a granite chin. Dan Hooker's chin on Edson Barboza's body. That's all we need to beat Conor McGregor standing up, but I don't think Gaethje has it in the tank. I think he would get destroyed. Not to mention Gaethje does seem to slow down as the rounds go on, so that factor in the fight of a potential chance for him later on in the fight is not going to be there as much. He also suffers a lot of body shots, and McGregor would know that immediately. Landed good body shots against Chad Mendes pretty well. I think he would land them against Justin Gaethje, shells up massively. If Eddie Alvarez can make the adjustment in the middle of a fight to go to your body and expose you there, I think McGregor will know to go to that immediately into the fight, and I don't see Gaethje beating him whatsoever. Moving on to number 4 on my list, it is Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I believe he is the number 4 threat to Conor McGregor in the lightweight division. I just don't like your chances against Conor McGregor, as I just said against Justin Gaethje. If you are... And this is a different situation. I think Poirier is better than Gaethje on the feet. I mean, we saw that in their bout. I know DC and Dominic Cruz's commentary would have you think otherwise, but in my opinion, Dustin Poirier won all of those rounds against Justin Gaethje before finishing him in the 4th. I know Gaethje landed some great leg kicks, but Poirier, in my opinion, has much cleaner boxing, much cleaner stand-up. However, the boxing... I need you to kick against Conor McGregor. I really need you to kick against Conor McGregor, and I don't think Dustin Poirier is going to be able to get Conor McGregor to the ground. He struggled against guys with his grappling before. I mean, if you can't get Holloway to the ground at 155, I don't see you getting McGregor to the ground at 155. Not to mention, Conor McGregor did better in the grappling situations against Khabib than Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje did, I would say, combined, because he completely neutralized Khabib in the first round with his takedown defense, then got beaten up in the second round pretty badly, and then the third round, he came back and won and stuffed 3 takedowns. It was a great performance when you look back compared to Poirier and Gaethje's performance against Khabib, but I just don't like Poirier's chances going out there and boxing with Conor McGregor. I don't think that's a great game plan whatsoever. Dustin Poirier in their first fight with Conor McGregor landed a bunch of leg kicks. I thought they were very effective. He landed 10 strikes. 7 of those strikes were leg kicks, and every single time he landed one, it would knock Conor McGregor off balance. Alvarez used leg kicks against McGregor as well and used them quite effectively. Dennis Seaver used leg kicks against McGregor, and they used them quite well as well. Dustin Poirier, since his hip surgery and since that hip has been bothering him, has not thrown barely any leg kicks in his past 2 fights, and I think he would just be left out there boxing with Conor McGregor. If you want to know who I believe will win that bout, I think it's Conor McGregor. If you want to hear more about my opinion on that bout, go to my channel right now. I've got a full breakdown of the fight for about 15-16 minutes. I go into detail of why I believe Conor McGregor will KO Dustin Poirier in the first round. However, I respect him as a bigger test than Justin Gaethje because he's a little bit more technical, he's a little bit better, and he doesn't gas out as much as Justin Gaethje does, so he has that option in the later rounds to take advantage of Conor McGregor. Number 3 on my list of top 5 threats to Conor McGregor, and here's where things get very interesting, is Dan the Hangman Hooker. And I know Dan Hooker is a striker in the lightweight division that's ranked below Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje and has lost to guys in Edson Barboza who got beaten by Justin Gaethje. Now, fair play, Justin Gaethje eye-poked Edson Barboza brutally in that fight and no one said anything about it, and then also KO'd Edson Barboza on the same side of the face that he eye-pokes. Oh well, but still, Gaethje beat Edson Barboza, Barboza beat Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier beat Dan Hooker more recently as well, so you may be asking me, why, Guru, have you put Dan Hooker above Gaethje and Poirier on this list? It's because I believe Dan Hooker's a nightmare matchup on the feet for Conor McGregor, and out of all of the people that are going to go out there and try and strike with McGregor, I think Dan Hooker has the best chance in the lightweight division, period. He's a tall, rangy guy. I believe he's one of the only guys in the division who's going to be able to outreach Conor McGregor on the feet with his reach advantage. He's going to have a small reach advantage, but that's still something that McGregor is not going to be used to in the octagon. I think that could prove to be very difficult for him. Nate Diaz had a long reach, and that proved to be somewhat difficult for Conor McGregor in times. Dan Hooker is a very dangerous matchup for McGregor, not only because he's got a granite chin, which we can also talk about. His boxing is good, his size is massive, his reach is long as well, so that's always going to be a problem, but that granite chin of his is a huge problem. I don't know if Conor McGregor would go out there and try and obliterate Dan Hooker on the chin in the first round. I think Conor McGregor might go out there against Dan Hooker and try and go to the body early. So I think that Dan Hooker would have more success against Conor McGregor than Gaethje and Poirier, because I believe McGregor would KO Gaethje and Poirier in the first round, and Dan Hooker might be able to stretch things out into the second. I still believe I would pick Conor McGregor against Dan Hooker. I think he would make the adjustment to go to the body. He has very, very underrated body shots, as we saw against Chad Mendes, and also, I've already mentioned Chad Mendes, Khabib, if you watch that third round again, he was pot-shotting Khabib to the body a couple of times in that round and doing it very well indeed, I must say. Dan Hooker, in my opinion, would get chewed up to the body and eventually gas out, and that's another reason why he's not number 1 or 2 on my list of top 5 threats, is because Dan Hooker does not have that gas tank that we have seen where he's going to be able to, where I can comfortably say that Dan Hooker's going to be able to take advantage of McGregor in the later rounds. Dan Hooker just doesn't seem to have that gas tank. In the Poirier fight in rounds 3, 4, and 5, he completely gassed out as that fight went on. He was basically a heavy bag just walking forward. I mean, people say McGregor gassed out against Nate Diaz at 170 pounds, but he outlanded Diaz in round 4 and was outlanding Diaz in round 5 before Diaz got the takedown at the end of the round. Dan Hooker just completely deteriorates in speed. And round 3, he's still there and he's still got a chance. But in round 4 and 5, he has no cardio left in the tank. And after McGregor's body shots in the early rounds, I don't think he'd be able to turn it around even if he did get there. I think he would eventually get finished to body shots by Conor McGregor in the second round. That's what I believe would happen. But I think he's definitely more dangerous than Poirier and Gaethje. And not to mention also, Dan Hooker's calf kicks are brutal. He goes shin to shin. That shows a lot of confidence in the conditioning of your shins. I think that would be a huge problem for Conor McGregor in the lightweight division, to have a guy who, instead of going out there like Dustin Poirier and looking for a scrappy war and trying to punch with you, is going to go out there straight away and do what Dan Hooker does, which is try and land 10 calf kicks within the first minute of the bout. I think those calf kicks and kicks in general could lead to Conor McGregor maybe not being so powerful on the feet, trying to push off of those damaged legs so early into a bout. It would also pay into consideration when the rounds go further into the bout. If Dan Hooker's been chewing up his legs early, Conor McGregor's not going to have that push in those later rounds to take advantage of maybe a tired Dan Hooker. Who knows, maybe Dan Hooker starts pacing himself in his bouts and gets a little bit better at it. I don't think we'll be able to tell against Michael Chandler it's a 3-round bout, but still, Dan Hooker has a chance. I think he's got a better chance than Poirier and Gaethje. Moving on to number 2 on my list, Charles Oliveira, otherwise known as Charlie Olives, as number 3 on my list likes to call him, which I think he should be called from now on. Charlie Olives, very, very dangerous for Conor McGregor. I don't know why people don't seem to consider this. Charlie Oliveira could go out there and completely obliterate Conor McGregor with one takedown. That can happen. Okay, I know people like to think that because Charles Oliveira, I'll use his real name, why not? Charles Oliveira went out there and did that to Tony Ferguson, that Khabib would also do that, but I would tell you this, Charles Oliveira is very dangerous, and doing that to Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee before that as well is not under my radar. That's on my radar majorly. He could go out there, get a nice little takedown in the first round, immediately get to the ground with Conor McGregor, and I know that Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu is underrated and very good, and much better than guys like Dustin Gaethje, where it's basically non-existent in his game. I think Charles Oliveira would definitely have a jiu-jitsu advantage against Conor McGregor, and I like the fact that there's a guy out there in him that will have that ability to take it somewhere else other than the feet, because I don't see Dan Hooker doing it. I don't see Poirier doing it unless he surprises me tomorrow night, and I definitely don't see Justin Gaethje shooting a takedown ever in his career. Charles Oliveira is a dangerous man. I think he's a very dangerous fight for Conor McGregor. Again, a taller guy, a rangy guy in the division. That could prove a problem for some of Conor McGregor's counter shots. He's used to facing guys with a shorter reach than him. Charles Oliveira is a very long guy, throws a lot of front kicks as well, throws a lot of kicks on the feet because he's confident in his ground game, does not have to worry about being taken down because no one's going to want to take him down, throws kicks whenever he wants. Charles Oliveira is a very dangerous matchup for Conor McGregor, and I think that might be the matchup that they make next if Conor McGregor is successful against Dustin Poirier this weekend. I think Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje should be made, then the winner of that one should take on Conor McGregor, but I've just looked at Justin Gaethje's Instagram recently. That man is morbidly obese right now. I don't see him fighting anytime soon, so Charles Oliveira might be in the running for a potential matchup for Conor McGregor. I know Dan Hooker is sowing the seeds of trying to call out Charlie Olives. Maybe Dan Hooker, if he beats Chandler, will then take on Oliveira, and then the winner of that one will take on Conor McGregor in the lightweight division after a potential rematch with number one on my list for Conor McGregor if he does beat Dustin Poirier. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Dangerous matchup for Conor McGregor, always will be. Anyone who can take down McGregor confidently in the first round is going to be able to beat him, in my opinion. You can't be on the feet with McGregor. I think there's a chance that Charles Oliveira could not take down McGregor in that first round, and that's why I would pick Conor McGregor to beat Charles Oliveira. Plus, I think the moment would get to Charles Oliveira, and once he gets hit by a big shot, he might change the way he fights, because if you don't remember, Charles Oliveira used to be a little bit of a... I don't want to sound like Stephen A. Smith too much here, but Oliveira used to quit a lot in his fights. Like, as soon as there was a sign of adversity in a Charles Oliveira fight, he'd be tapping immediately. And that was a big problem for me. But now he seems like he's tamed it down. He seems to have blossomed in his career. But Khabib Nurmagomedov has a chance to go out there and definitely take down Conor McGregor in the first round. I don't think McGregor can make up that difference. And if they rematched right now instead of Poirier this weekend, if it was Khabib after a full camp, I think Khabib would beat him again. If they rematch after the Poirier fight with McGregor, if McGregor beats Poirier, then calls out Khabib and they fight in, say, July or August, I still believe I would pick Khabib Nurmagomedov. The only way that I would ever pick Conor McGregor to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov is if he went out there and had alternative factors at play. He needs to do different stuff. He needs to go out there and make Khabib feel weird before and do some weird stuff at the press conference and make Khabib a little bit out of his element, which I don't believe is going to happen, but he's going to have to try something like that to get the job done, because in the cage, Khabib will take down Conor McGregor in the early rounds, and if he can do that, he's going to massively increase his likelihood of winning, and I think Khabib would beat McGregor 7, 8 out of 10 times. I think it's a very close fight. It's the closest fight right now for Khabib in the lightweight division. I'd love to see the rematch. The only way I'd pick McGregor to beat Khabib, other than outside factors, is another outside factor. So I don't know why I said other than other outside factors, because there's another one to mention here. Conor McGregor needs to be active. If Conor McGregor goes out there, beats Dustin Poirier this weekend, which might not happen, and may God please listen to me while I fucking say this shit to you, please. Don't curse this shit for me. I have plans. I have videos to make, and McGregor's name leads to more views. That's just how it is. And may God please don't ruin this for me. If he goes out there and beats Dustin Poirier, then beats Charles Oliveira in, say, June or May, then beats a guy like Dan Hooker, who maybe beats Chandler, and then Gaethje, or Gaethje, who beats maybe a Nate Diaz or a Charles Oliveira. If McGregor can string together a couple of wins in 2021, in maybe May, and then again in August, and then looks to come back early in 2022 against Khabib, Khabib will have been out for a long time. McGregor would have been really active. Only then would I ever consider picking Conor McGregor against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Also, there's a chance that McGregor was not showing up in full capacity in that Khabib fight, but I still believe that even without that little bit of whiskey at the weigh-ins, he still was in great shape. He was bulked up for the fight as well. I think he would do better in a rematch, but I still can't see past the reality of him being taken down in the first round. He did do some sneaky stuff in that fight as well, so maybe the ref would be more diligent and pay attention to it more, and that would lead to less success for McGregor. I think right now Khabib beats him, but with some other factors at play, some activity at play and some inactivity at play on Khabib's behalf, McGregor could have a chance at beating him, but he is the #1 threat to Conor McGregor. You guys all knew it was coming. Oliveira at number 2. I don't know why I put a H at the front of his name. Dan Hooker at number 3. That one needs a H at the beginning of his surname because it actually has a H there. Dustin Poirier at number 4. And Justin Gaethje at number 5. And some honourable mentions for challenges for McGregor at 155 would be guys like, I would say, Paul Felder. Maybe Paul Felder. Paul Felder is an honourable mention. And maybe, you know what, Gaethje might get shifted out at number 5. We'll share number 5 between Paul Felder and Justin Gaethje because Paul Felder is a nightmare matchup for Conor McGregor. Tough as they come. Granite chin. I don't think he's ever been TKO'd in his entire career other than once against Francisco Trinaldo, and it was by a cut. It was not due to a TKO finish. It was by a cut that opened up after an elbow landed from Francisco Figueiredo. Or not Figueiredo, Trinaldo. There's another Trinaldo. There's another Francisco at play. I think Felder's a dangerous matchup for McGregor. Tough chin, pushes a pace, doesn't put everything into his shots, grinds over time, big guy for the division, got some takedowns as well, could hold McGregor up against the cage, throws some crazy stuff on the feet, doesn't just go out there and box normally, he'll throw a couple of spinning back fists, that can throw off the timing of a McGregor who's based around the boxing fundamentals. I think Felder's a good little wild card to throw in there at the end of this video, but other than that, those are my top 5 threats to Conor McGregor. I hope you understood all of what I was saying through my crazy rambling, but that's what I said. Thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Again, said that one more time. For good luck, like and subscribe. Click that button up there. I'll be live for UFC 257 doing a fight companion, so check it out. Toodle pip.